just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 271, which is the same amount of draft picks that the Nets had on Wednesday night. A historic 5 first-round picks selected by the Nets. The Knicks make their second-round pick yesterday. We're recording this on Friday morning. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesowitz. Alex, good morning. How are you? And a lot of net news and a lot of net chaos, but it's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Somehow the Nets had 271 picks in the first round. That only has 30 picks, right? So that's crazy. But Sean Marks is a genius, bro. That was the joke, Alex. Thank you for picking up on it. But, I mean, yes.
Nick's still without a coach. We'll talk about that in a moment, but we'll lead with the Nets. And, the 5 picks happen. I think a majority of people believe that the Nets would package some of those and try to move up in the draft. And also, for good reason. There's never been a team in NBA history that had selected 5 first-round picks in the history of the sport. So it's not going out on a limb and saying something like, I think they'll move up the package. So people are upset with Sean Marks for that. There's a lot of anger, Alex, in the Nets community. And if you're on Nets Twitter in particular, you can see it, unhappy with the Nets selections. And we'll dive into it. Like it's understandable. They took some reach picks, and the anger, though, the levels, I think, are disproportionate with reality of what can happen. Anybody that sits here and pretends like they know everything that's going to happen in the future after any NBA draft is a loser and is lying to you. There's no reality to it. Like, you're making stuff up along with everybody else. And I think it's an embarrassment when you proclaim that this won't work. This is a major mistake. This is a reach of epic proportions when we literally have no idea what is going to happen in the future. And quite frankly, as a Nets fan, I was embarrassed by the way the fan base reacted when these guys haven't even been here yet. We have to see what happens and give it a little bit of time. And yeah, was I disappointed? Sure. It was a boring night for Net fans in the sense of they didn't get who they wanted. I haven't heard of any of these guys, and that sucks. And there's no juice for the Nets, really. But don't tell me that this is not going to work already. If that's the case, stop watching, don't be a fan, and go away.
Yeah, I hear you. And to compare this to the Knicks, the draft with the Porzingis, everybody wanted Moutier or other picks and were just upset that we took this guy. And I remember watching with my 2 buddies, Matt and Randall, and we're just kept being like, Kristaps, what? Who is this guy? And Rappaport had that famous rant. He's like, Porzingis, who the fuck is this guy? It was like a viral thing. And, I remember me and my friends perked up when they traded for Jerry and Grant in the middle of the first round. And, he ended up being a bust. And so Nets fans who feel this way, just wait for the summer league, because once you watch these guys actually play, you might get a little excited. When Porzingis is in his first summer league game, he's playing against Okafor. They're playing the Sixers, and he grabs the ball. Never forget this. Grabs the ball, puts it down low, doesn't dribble, stares him right in the face, and nails a jumper right in Okafor's face. And that's when every Knicks fan sat back and went, whoa. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just a random jump shot. It was the swagger. It was the way he looked at him. It was the way he wanted him, and he nailed it. And we were just like, okay. You know what I mean? I think there's something here. And just give it a little time. Give it some time. And, you say you have the best developmental coach in the NBA, and now you have 5 first-round picks for him to play with and develop and see how that goes. And just let it ride. And I can't believe I'm being the voice of reason for Nets fans, but everybody's got to relax. I know you put a lot of stock in this draft, but just wait, just chill.
And I like hearing you give some, positive Porzingis way back in the day, before all the disdain began. But if you haven't known by now, and I'm sure all Net fans do, the Nets at the 8, 19, 22, 26, and 27. Nets take Yegor Demin at 8. Nolan Traore, 19, the point guard from France. Then they go with Drake Powell, forward, North Carolina at 22. That was the pick from the Hawks. Ben Saraf, guard from Israel at 26. That's the pick they got in the Mikel deal. And then Danny Wolf, their last pick in the first round, the forward out of Michigan. I don't blame them for taking some reaches at places from let me say reaches from the experts. If you have 5 first round picks, not if you don't, they had them, they used them. If you're going to be conservative with 5 first round picks for all of them, I think that would be a mistake. You have these 5 picks, like take some gambles. Let's see what happens. Roll the dice there. Now you want to get upset that you took 3 point guards that all do the same thing. I could understand that argument, and that is frustrating if you're trying to build out a roster. But I think as you look at how the NBA landscape has changed, and you use the Oklahoma City as Thunder as the blueprint, it's you want to get playmaking guards, and you want to get guys that can share it, and you want to get a depth of on your roster, and that's the way they went. It could prove to be an utter fail, epic fail. And most likely it will be because nothing ever goes right for the Nets. It wouldn't matter who they drafted. Cooper Flagg could have dropped to 8th and he would have been a bust. So from that perspective, I totally get it. But again, you have to give it time. You have to see what happens. And if 2 of the 3 of these guys prove to be good and 1 doesn't, okay, then they missed on 1, but 2 is good. And when you have that many picks, this is what's going to happen. They're going to take some reaches. They're going to take some gambles. And for anybody else out there that's looking at mock draft scores, right, when grades are given out, let me say this. The people that are giving these scores have to do it because their boss or employer says we need to do these mock drafts, because all the people like us, morons like us NBA fans, go out and we read them. And in the moment, it makes us feel good. And they know that they're going to get, it's essentially clickbait. So when somebody gives the Nets a C+ or another team B- or a B, it means absolutely nothing. And there's probably people that gave out these scores that was like, I can't believe I have to give a score for every team's first round. And they are literally, you talk about the Nets and the GMs throwing darts. People that are making these mock draft scoreboards are doing the same thing. Don't be irrational to a stupid score from somebody that has to do it because it's their job and has no choice. Like, relax on it. It does not matter what any of us think. It's about what happens on the court and the tangible actions. And also, too, like, everybody's mad at Sean Marks. Give some blame them to Jordy Fernandez, because I promise you there is communication between the GM and the coach when they're making these selections. He's going to trust Sean. He's going to go out and say, you do your thing. But if there's somebody he doesn't like or doesn't want there, he will voice his opinion too. So put some blame also on the coach if you're going to blame Marks.
Oh, so you're saying the coach does have something to do with the draft picks? So maybe the Knicks should hire a coach.
Well, it's a little different. No, if the Knicks had 5 first-round draft picks and were in the same situation and didn't have a head coach, that would be now to defend the Knicks a little bit.
Well,
they're in a much better spot.
Yes,
so it's a little different.
Yes,
not apples to apples there, bud.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But I can't believe I'm comparing sports again, but it's kind of like the 2015 Mets for those baseball fans. I know a lot of people are baseball fans listening, and you had all these pitchers coming up the years previous to 15, where it was like Harvey, Syndergaard, Matz, DeGrom. Who am I missing? Wheeler, and like you know what I mean. And you're like, oh my god, you have all these pitchers. And the whole thing is like, the haters would say, like, they're not going to be all great. And it's like, all right, well, if you get 1 or 2 that are aces, you now have 2 homegrown aces on your team. You know what I mean? You have 5 first-round picks. If you get 1 guy that becomes a franchise-changing player, you get that Donovan Mitchell, you get that Kawhi Leonard, you get that Giannis that's in the middle of the draft or towards the end. You change your entire franchise. You might as well throw 5 darts at the wall. You're nowhere right now. You didn't win the lottery, which was the plan. Well, not the plan, which was the hope. And it's I guarantee you they don't take 5 first-round picks if they get the number 1 pick in the draft. I guarantee you they trade a couple of those and get some players in there. Maybe you get 1 star and 2 great rotational players, and then 2 picks are nothing. You know what I mean? It's just the Knicks, when they had the 3 first-round picks, I forgot what year it was, with John Wallace and McCarty. 96 and Dante Jones. Only John Wallace became a contributor, and he wasn't even that good, but it was a good player to have on your bench. You know what I'm saying? Right. I know the Knicks were in a different stage then too, but just relax, and like you said, you have the coach who's involved, and he's Very, very good developmental coach. The team should have been so much worse. They almost weren't the number one pick. Well, they probably didn't get the number one pick in the draft because he was such a good coach and coaching these young players. So just relax. And like I said, wait for the summer league and see how you feel. I guarantee people's opinions will change.
It'll be really frustrating if you see guys playing well and Devin plays well, and then all of a sudden everybody has to eat crow.
Right away.
Like I just really hope that guys that are like, oh, this guy sucks, are now not like rooting against the Nets because they want their opinion to be right. And he could be horrible. I'm not saying he's going to be great, but let's not sit here and pretend that we know the future of him and this organization just because in your scouting believe that he should have gone 11th or 12th and they picked him at 8th. I mean, if that's their guy, and they did it. Like Alex, pick a random draft between 2008 and 2020. Just pick any
2008 and 2020.
In recent memory, just pick any draft.
2012.
All right, so I'm going to Google the 2012 NBA draft, and I have not looked at this draft. I have no idea, but I am that confident that we can look here and we can just see. This will be like the one draft, right? All right, here. Let me share. You see my screen?
I see your screen.
Here's the 2012 NBA draft, which was, of course, the Nets draft where they traded Lillard. Anthony Davis 1. All right. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist 2. Terrible pick at number 2.
Trash.
He said, all right. Thomas Robinson number 5. Dion Waiters, okay. But then let's just scroll down.
Well, you have 3. You missed 3 is Beal, and 6 was Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
So you got the guys who are 3, 4, and 5,
right?
And Gilchrist, Waiters, and Robinson.
So the point is, we can scroll down here, and you just don't know where you're going to.
Forgot about him.
Draymond Green, 35. Okay, and I'm not saying this happens everywhere. Jay Crowder, good player, 34. The 34th pick in the draft was better than the 2nd pick in the draft, better than the 5th pick in the draft, better than the 4th pick in the draft.
Yeah,
you could argue better than this.
Well, Harrison Barnes, pretty
Barnes
good.
Better than
number
Crowder.
7.
But
Terrence Ross was a good player, number 8. Drummond was a good player, number 9.
Right.
I mean, there's some good players.
Evan Fournier at number 20, and I know he had a horrible stint with the Knicks, but he had a very good career with the Orlando
and you have
Magic.
Mo Harkless at 15 was a journeyman. You know what I mean?
You just don't know where these guys are going to land.
Yeah,
I'm just sorry, but like the 35th pick in the draft.
Who else was in the 2nd round there? Oh, never mind.
Well, let's do 2014. Let's try this one, okay? Let's see what we have here. Andrew Wiggins 1, Jabari Parker 2. Again, 2nd pick, horrible pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Exum 5 bust. Randall 7. Nick Stauskas, remember him? Nets. He was the 8th pick in the draft.
And number 3 was Joel Embiid. Yeah.
Zach LaVine 13. Better career than 1, 2.
No, not Aaron Gordon.
You could have a healthy debate.
Yeah.
Better than 5. You could have
Marcus Smart's defensive player of the year. I mean, he's a good career. He's just hurt now.
But better than 9.
I get the point.
The point is, don't tell me because you just don't. And I bet you there were people here going, how could you? Oh, James Young, that's the pick.
James Young at 17. How can you take him over, Mitch McGarry?
Exactly.
Nobody cares.
All right, Net fans. Joe Harris, 33. He had a decent NBA
Anthony
career.
Early in 34 for the Knicks. Great pick.
Nikola Jokic, 41.
Over Jokic at 41, yes.
Look,
so the Knicks drafted Clay Anthony Early over Nikola Jokic.
And I could just go through this in every draft, but the point is some players end up being better than others. Look at this. It's all random. You just don't know what's going to happen. So before you just crucify everything they did, until we see what happens, then it's fair game. But until then, I have to be rational and know I have to see how they play. Now, if they suck, they missed and they're all fired. But I don't know that yet. It's been 3 days.
That's true. And I can't lie. Like, part of me is happy to watch the crash out of Nets fans after talking about draft picks for the entire year.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you on that.
It's the anniversary this week of the Mikal Bridges trade, and it's been connected our franchises even more than they were before with the trade and the picks and the laughing at every move. For Mikal Bridges scores 0 points, and Mike goes on Twitter and goes viral for making fun of it. How many people were traded for 6 picks that had 0 points in a game? None, actually, but that's okay. The Knicks got to the Eastern Conference Finals, so whatever. You can go back and forth on this stuff all day long. And it's just that the whole thing I've been saying was like these picks are air. You don't know. And Like it doesn't mean anything to me because we got a player and we can win a championship, and that's what matters. And your argument was, well, you never know with these picks. Like they could be great, and that's fine. And a lot of Nets fans were so cocky about that, but now they didn't pick the players that they wanted, and now they're crashing out, and it just makes me laugh. 'Cause it's like, where was all this
Right.
cockiness? Like all this
Well, that
cockiness is now gone from the collective Nets fan, not every Nets fan, but the collective Nets fan. You know what I mean? So it's pretty funny to me. That's
No,
all.
I don't blame you for feeling that way. But the truth of the matter is, and we'll, you look at it like, okay, so the first pick, the two picks that the Nets got in this year's class
Hmm.
from the Knicks, because you got to remember, there's 3 more years of this, and possibly 4 with the pick swap. But
Right.
from this year, it's Nolan Traore, and
Hmm.
I've heard it said 2 different ways, but we'll go Nolan Traore, the guard from France, and then they got the guard from Israel, Ben Saraf at 19 and 26. So right away, those 2 players were in the Mikel deal just from this year.
Right.
So let's not worry about the future picks. Let's talk about tangible players on the roster. Let's see how those guys do. If they're anywhere near Mikel Bridges, are they better? They could be better than Mikel Bridges. Oh, we don't know, right? Time will
Right.
tell. These kids are 19, 20 years old. We'll find out in a due matter of time. In years, we'll find out. But those are the first 2 pieces. And just because Net fans are unhappy because there was somebody else that they wanted, they would have felt good in the moment, but it doesn't matter. It's about what happens on the court. Now it matters to your life because you want to feel good inside in the moment. You want to be happy and you want to have joy. But as far as what it actually means on the court, absolutely nothing. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how much of an expert you are. I'll never
No
forget
one's an
Doug
expert.
Gottlieb saying that the Warriors made one of the epic fails by not getting Johnny Flynn, but like they were like, oh, teams are going to regret this forever. Johnny Flynn over Steph Curry. Johnny Flynn, Q guard, had a bigger,
Good college career. Yeah.
good college career, but I mean, obviously, flamed out was a bust, and Steph Curry's an all-time great.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't worry, the Nets fans, like, I mean, I can't believe I'm trying to make you feel better. Summer League
I feel
isn't like
fine.
no,
Like,
like the collective panic net
yeah,
fan that I argue with all the time. The fucking Summer League starts next week. Okay, you'll be able to watch these guys play soon, at the end of next week or the week after, like July 5th or 6th or whenever it is. The NBA schedule is calendar is so compacted that there's no time to wait. You don't have to wait like months like an NFL draft pick to just see a guy in uniform. You know what I mean? You'll be all right. This isn't like Daniel
yeah,
Jones with the Giants where you had to wait forever to see him play. You know what I mean? You got time. You don't have to wait a lot of time, is what I mean. And it's just it is what it is. Just calm down. Just calm
yeah,
down. And it's almost funny like the 2000 draft for the Bulls. This is how much times have changed. It was like after the Jordan era. They had the good draft the year before that in '99 with Elton Brand and Artest. But then the next year they had a bunch of picks, and this was known as a bunch of picks, where they had 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks,
yeah.
and they used them all besides the Chris Memon deal, and they traded them to the Cavs. They drafted Marcus Fizer, some Bagaric, and then 3 second-round picks, and only one that's notable is Khalid El-Amin because he was the big chunky point guard for
UConn.
UConn that won the championship. So it's just funny to me the panic. Back then it was like unheard of. I remember the NBA draft scouts are like the Bulls drafted a whole team tonight, and it's just
Yeah.
now it's just relax. But there was no G League then. There was no 2 ways. It's just when you drafted somebody that had to play. So now you can manipulate the roster a little bit. Just chill out. That's
Yeah, I
all.
mean, Yegor Demon is born in 2006, so he's
Jeez.
19 years old. Like, just when you look at these interviews and you see his face, I'm like, he is so young. I mean, he's a little kid.
Right. You have
So they're
to
banking
adjust
on
your
upside. They're
your
banking on
thoughts. Yeah.
their process is seeing him at 9. And again, they could be horribly wrong, and a majority of people think that. But their thought process is he's going to become a better shooter. He's only 19 years old. We
Yeah.
see the upside. Now, if he's 26 and they're doing this, that's different. But he's 19, and that's what their scouts believe. And at this point, what else am I going to do? Like, just be angry all day at them? Like, let me see what happens before I get angry. I think that's if Cooper Flag's still on the board and they missed it, okay, that's a screw up. And I just want to say this was the Doug Gottlieb. He was on Sports Center. He said about Steph Curry, he doesn't have the upside of Rubio, Jennings, Flynn, Mills, or Teague, all
Ugh.
more athletic.
Well, they
And
might have been more
they were,
athletic, but they weren't better.
again, People make bad opinions. Something against Doug. He's paid to give an opinion.
Yeah,
His opinion was wrong.
right.
Guys are paid to give opinions. Like all these grades are paid to do that.
And if at this point, if you don't understand that the draft grades or player rankings or team rankings are designed for clickbait to get you upset, like let's rank this player or this team lower just to get clicks. Like let's troll the Knick fan because they have a large fan base. Let's troll the Laker fan because they have a large fan base. Get them to get mad, and then they'll share it around, and then it'll blow up as a post. That's what these lists are designed to do. Maybe 90% of the list is correct or just an actual opinion, not correct, is an actual opinion of the person. But then they're going to throw in that, let's make that B a C plus. You know what I mean? Let's make that A minus a B minus. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just the little tweaks here and there, so you get what, and then you sell it around, you share it around, and before you know it, it's a viral post. So just learn the game, kids.
Knicks still without a head coach, Alex.
And now they're interviewing Borrego this weekend, kicking the can down the road. It drives me crazy because they spent 2 weeks reaching out to employed coaches, wasting time. You know, you fire your coach after the Eastern Conference Finals. You got to move quickly. You can't like take your time. Oh, we got time. We got time. Don't worry about it. You know, we don't have to worry about a coach for the draft. And yeah, you draft this kid, Diawara from France and whatever, or Dawara. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. And it's just, respect to him though. I just don't know. And it's nonsense. It's nonsense like to dismiss the fact that you don't need a coach for these decisions. Granted, the coach is not going to be the final decision maker, depending on the level of a coach, obviously. But you can't fit players to a roster and then tell a coach, go run this system. So now what you're doing is you're diminishing your coach's power on the court of what they can and cannot do. And not every coach is a Pat Riley who can run the Showtime Lakers and then take over the 90s Knicks and make them the rough and tough 90s Knicks and then go to the Heat and do something different with the Hardaway, with a point guard and Mourning and a center. Like, not everybody's that way. So now all you're doing is now you have to find a coach that's going to fit the system that you want to run as an executive. So now you're basically running the team from the executive offices like a Phil Jackson did that everybody killed him for. So you got to move quickly. You got to get the coach in there for at least the perception wise of the coach has some balls, because the players already got the coach that's won a ton here, maybe the fourth or fifth winningest coach in team history, and got to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, won 50 games 2 years in a row, got to the second round 3 years in a row. You already got rid of that guy. That guy wasn't good enough. So now you're going to bring a guy in here and give him no power over the roster, no, not even the perception of power over the roster, and tell him, go figure it out. Now, yeah, you might be in love with Jason Kidd. You might be waiting for Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison to finish the stare down match, but that's Dallas's problem. Like, don't sit there waiting for the girl that's never going to come to you. She's in a relationship, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's just move on. Like, move on and go somewhere else. If she comes back to you, it was meant to be. You know what I'm saying? Then you fire Borrego in a week. Oh, well, you know what? Sorry, James. You know what I mean? Who gives a shit? Money means nothing to you, James Dolan. So what does it matter? What are we doing here? You need this coach here. Sorry, we need this coach here to at least make off-season decisions. You say the draft doesn't mean anything. I don't believe that that's true for a coach. I don't believe that at all. I think, if anything, the later picks in the second round mean more to a coach and they have more power over those players than the early picks in the first round. So that's nonsense. And then on top of that, when you're trying to make the bottom end of your roster work, you have the top 7 guys intact. You know who they are. When you're trying to make those roster decisions, you need a coach to get a guy that's going to fit into his system and somebody that he can mold, somebody that he likes, et cetera, et cetera. Not having one is malpractice. You need to get a coach by this weekend before the legal tampering period begins on Monday. And of course, every team waits for those tampering periods to tamper. Nobody does it before.
I do think that it's really important as far as the bench is concerned, because the big talk about the Knicks last year was the lack of depth on their bench. We know who the 7 guys are really for the Knicks, but then after that, that's where the Knicks have to fill out this roster. I wonder though obviously it was a quick reaction when they fired Tibbs. The NBA, this was almost like a month ago now, or whatever it is, and the NBA Finals was just about to begin. I wonder, Alex, looking back on it, if the Knicks knew that the Pacers were going to lose Halliburton, and they said to themselves, okay, maybe we're not getting better, but the East is getting worse. And there's no way about that. The Celtics, because of the Tatum injury, made the right fiscal decision to say, hey, we're not going to be very good next year, not good enough next year. Why are we going to pay all this money to come up short?
Right.
Let's shed it now. Like, all right, I'll get to my point.
Year early instead of a year late, like a Belichick.
Right. So the reason that the Celtics traded Porzingis and Holiday wasn't because they were like, God, we don't like these guys anymore on our roster. It was because we know we're not good enough to win a championship with Tatum hurt. Let's shed the money now, and then we can essentially rebuild again. Use this punt year to then get refocused when Tatum's back and make decisions. So the Celtics made that overall haul with their organization. But to that, the Celtics aren't going to be a contender next year. They're going to be fighting. They're going to be
good if they still have Jaylen Brown. They're going to be a good team. Yeah,
but they're not as good. They're not a top tier team anymore.
They're not.
They're not.
40s.
The Pacers,
low 40s. Yeah.
Who, without Halliburton, they're a very different basketball team. They're not there as well. They lose their all-world point guard. The East is wide open. I mean, it is up for grabs. I mean, it's the Cavs and the Knicks, and then ascending Orlando and Detroit. That's not that's not great as an overall conference. I wonder if the Knicks knew this Halliburton news and that he would be out for the year, said to themselves, shit, I know that people were upset with the players internally were a little bit upset, but I mean, holy crap, the East is here for us. We basically just have to be healthy, and we have a legit shot at the finals just by being the same roster because everybody else is getting worse.
Yeah, but I just feel like, Halliburton doesn't hit that crazy shot at the end of game one. You know what I mean? You have a 7-game series versus the Pacers. You know what I'm saying? And like, I know they went to overtime, and I know that they lost. Exactly, whatever. They gave away that game. And you know what I mean? The Pacers took it to their credit. I'm not trying to diminish that. But I'm just saying, like, you were there. And then the Thunder get taken to game 7 by that same Pacers team that you were there with already. Why do you fire the coach? It just does. We're going backwards on that stuff. It doesn't make any sense. So, like, you know the Celtics are down. That was a team that was really hard to beat. The Cavs are always injured, so you're not worried about them. And it's just like, what are we doing? So now we're spinning our wheels, and because Halliburton's hurt, now we're gonna go back on that. I kind of disagree with that, but I hear where you're coming from. I just feel that the East is wide open, so to speak, right now, but the offseason hasn't happened yet. There haven't been these big trades that might happen with a Giannis. There hasn't been these big trades of what the Hawks are playing. They have a $25 million trade exception that's just dangling there. And now they got Porzingis and Trae Young. And if Porzingis is healthy, of course, he's never healthy. But if he is, they're going to be a pretty good team. You know what I mean? Even without this player that they can acquire. I'm worried about them because they are hungry. You know what I'm saying? They want to win.
Yeah, and the thing about the Hawks too is they're an ascending team. They made some smart moves, and I agree that they're going to be one of the elite teams in the East.
Yeah.
But I think that is also a detriment to just like how bad the Eastern Conference is, that they could have that opportunity.
Right.
The East stinks. I mean, it does. Like it's the Knicks. Like the Knicks, if they don't make the finals next year, that's a failure. With the Celtics gone, the Pacers gone, like the Knicks go to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're 2 games away. I'm sorry if they don't make the finals it's finals or bust for them next year.
Oh yeah,
that's a huge failure with how bad. If the Knicks are in the West, they could be the 7 seed or they could be the 2 seed. The West is a different ballgame, but they're in the East. They're expected to make the finals next year, regardless of the coach.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, and look out for the Sixers. I know we mocked them and stuff, but they're going to come back. Maxi's there. They got the 3rd pick in the draft, the kid DJ. You know what I mean? They're going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? They might not be what the Sixers were a couple years ago, but they're going to be okay. So that's
I don't trust the Sixers at all, Alex. And after seeing they'll be better.
I don't think they're going to be contenders, but they're going to be a better team. So it's not going to be like a pushover. They're not going to be the worst. They're not going to be a 3rd pick in the draft next year.
No. But you just look at the playoffs and how long the season ended a week ago. Can you imagine Joel Embiid playing into late June?
No,
it's impossible to envision that.
Yeah. I hear you. I just it's just frustrating for me because with the Knicks coaching vacancy, to watch fans and watch people who know basketball just dismiss this like this is no big deal. You want to fire the coach, fine. You had no plan when you fired the coach. The plan was let's see what employed coaches are out there and waste our time. And that was the plan. And that was a terrible plan because you just want Jason Kidd. But guess what? He's not coming. You know what I'm saying? At
Yeah.
this point, he's not coming, and you can't wait that long. At some point, you have to draw a line in the sand. The line in the sand should be legal tampering period, which is Monday. It's just you can't waste your time negotiating with a coach and interviewing coaches in these fugazi interviews if that's what they are. When you have to worry about the roster construction and the cap. It's not possible to do both. I know you think it is, and you have thousands of people in this organization now, in every organization. Just you need to focus on one thing, all right? And the coach should be in lockstep with the organization. Because let's say Jason Kidd comes here and says, "I don't like these players that you got," and he's not going to play them. And then now you're butting heads with the organization, and you just started and you traded for this coach. Like it's
Yeah.
just not a smart way to do business. Yes, it may all work out. They may end up with Jason Kidd. They may end up with another coach, and they win a championship, and I'll be happy, and we'll forget all about this. But it doesn't mask the fact that this is a terrible way to do business. That you
Yeah,
need
no,
a freaking coach.
I agree. I think
Just
more
make a
than
decision.
I think as a someone that wants to see the Knicks fail, at least it just shows that there is a little bit of ineptitude in the organization,
Yep.
and there is some corruption of power, and it's not as harmonious as we all thought it was. Even if they go out and make the right selections here or there is some issues internally,
Yep.
but they can't figure this out. Now, they're not major issues, and they have got a ton of talent on the roster, to Leon Rose's credit, but there is definitely something that's a little bit off that they can't figure this out. And it'll be interesting to see if they go into free agency without a coach and just start filling out the roster. Will be
Insane.
fascinating to see. and just also, too, what they end up doing, because I think a priority will be for them to get some veterans and add some depth and create a more balanced roster on the back end, and see if they get some guys on the back end of their career. Like, I'll give you a perfect example of, I don't think he'll sign here, but Al Horford, not the greatest player in the world, but would you love to have him as your
Always hits
on the
open
Knicks
three.
roster? Like to me, if you could, and I don't think they could afford Al.
I've never seen the guy miss a three ever.
Trust me, I did when I was watching him play the Knicks, and I was rooting for him. But I get you. But I'm just saying that guys like that, veterans that have been there, that can add some value to the roster and actually play.
But what veteran is going to sign with the Knicks without a coach? What veteran like Al Horford is going to be like, let me go sign with the Knicks and help the bench and take the vet minimum to win a championship? And I don't know who the fuck the coach is. Maybe I don't like the guy. Maybe I butt heads with the guy. We don't know the relationships of all these players. You can't go through the offseason without a coach. I don't care who says that they can. It drives me crazy. And I think what drives me more crazy is the amount of smart people out there that are saying it's okay to not have a coach. It's not okay. The entire roster is not set. The entire organization is up in flames. Not in flames. The entire organization is confused at the direction of where they're going to go until they hire a coach and make a decision. Is James Borrego my favorite coach? No. But just make a damn decision and get a guy in there. If the team is that good, the coach is not as important. Right? If you think the team is that good, the coach is not as important. But so just get an adult in the room that can manage the egos and get this team to the finals. And let's move on. Stop with this nonsense already. You know what I mean? Like it drives me nuts.
I never thought of it from the player perspective of a free agency. Do I want to go here where there's no head coach? I think.
And who's on the staff too? Like all the assistants that were on the team last year, what are they doing? They're just twisting in the wind. Who's doing these workouts for these rookies that they're looking for? Clearly nobody. They picked a guy in France. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't understand.
I mean, it's lost momentum of like buzz of people caring, because the longer it drags out, it's just like you just forget about it.
Not that's maybe their plan.
Maybe. But at some point you're just like, I can't, just let me know when you're ready and we'll be there. But then things pick up. Draft happens, you think about it. Free agency happens, you think about it. Summer league happens, you think about it. Like,
but who's coaching the summer league? Are these guys like Dice or Rick
Tibbs.
Brunson? Are they
Tibbs come back?
Are they on the staff? So you're gonna have a guy coach your summer league team that might not be on the staff? Like that's bizarre, man. What are you doing?
They'd have to be on the staff.
Like what are we doing?
Maybe Leon Rose will come down and coach.
It's just not rational to defend something like this. Like you want to say the draft, you don't need him for the draft at the 50th pick, or the 51st pick, traded back a pick to save $10 in the cap, whatever. So we're past that now. So is that your opinion? In my opinion, it doesn't matter. We're past that now. So now the focus is Monday with a legal tampering period. You got to get a coach in here if you want to convince some of these vets that you need to win a championship, that you need to come to your organization that helps you win. You need a freaking coach, man.
Yeah, for that, I agree with that a lot. I agree with that a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bad Weather Fans, episode 271. Nets 5 first-round picks. They trade out of the second round with that 36th pick, which if we had a tracker on that pick, has
Can
been
I?
to
Yes.
every
Can
team.
I actually remember? I found that.
Yeah, but now it was dealt like 7 times yesterday.
Well, I found yesterday was. Well, I don't care about after.
Well, I do because it's interesting. Go for it.
Well, I can look that up in a second, but
Yeah.
So we were discussing this with Spen, who does Fireside Nets and Spending the Nets. He's the best, and we were talking about the 36th pick and how the Knicks got the Nets 36th pick in the draft, the second round pick that they traded to the Nets back
Yep.
in the Bridges deal.
Yep.
The original trade of this pick was in 2018 by the Nets when they traded Jeremy Lin to Atlanta.
Crazy.
They sent their own 2025 second round pick to Atlanta, and the Knicks got it from the Hawks when they acquired Cam Reddish. So They got the second round pick from the Nets when they got Cam Reddish in 2022, and then in 2024 they traded it to the Nets in the Bridges deal. So that's crazy.
Then the Nets traded it yesterday to Phoenix. Then Phoenix traded it to the Lakers.
That's insane.
That pick has been on a journey.
Imagine. I just wrote history. Let's see if it comes up. But yeah, no, that's insane.
Watch that pick be the NBA MVP.
The Jokic, yeah. Nobody wanted it.
It's funny. Bad Weather Fans, episode 271. Don't forget, watch us on YouTube. Subscribe there. You can get more Bad Weather Fans content all over the place. Shorts, old interviews, all the good stuff. Shout out to you, Alex, real fast. Do want to mention this by getting your tweet about Isaiah Hartenstein going to the Thunder, making the biggest mistake of his life, and then part of my take, reading the tweet to Hartenstein and getting his reaction. I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, shout out to part of my take for that. That was cool. And Hartenstein played it off well. And he's been here in New York for years. He was here in New York for years. I mean, and he knows how we are, and he knows that. It's my opinion that being a backup, a fringe starting center, and you're more relevant in New York than you are in Oklahoma City, even if you win a championship. Look at all the average players in New York that are in media. Just look around at ESPN, WFN, anywhere. Maybe not WFN. Tiki's not average. Boomer was not average either, but that's a bad example. But you know what I'm saying? ESPN, let's do that. Or Fox Sports. A lot of these average players were played for the Knicks, the Jets, the Mets, the Giants, the whoever, are out there. So anyway, that was my point.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was a little emotional at the time because I knew him leaving might have cost us a championship. Whatever.
We'll debate that another time. I just
the 36th pick in the draft.
I just thought it was cool that they put it out there.
Yeah, no, it was. I just wanted to give that point. That
I get you.
Yes, I was a little exaggerating, but no, I'm not that wrong as it went viral and millions of views. But the 36th pick in the draft this year, Adu Thero from Arkansas. Yeah, so now he went. The Nets draft pick traded to the Lakers via Suns and Wolves, and they don't even have space for the Knicks and the Hawks and the. You know what I mean? Anyway,
that draft. I am curious to see how he plays this year.
I just want to know. Yeah,
pure curiosity. All right, Bad Weather Fans, episode 271. Alex, good stuff. Nets recap, Knicks recap. We move now into free agency. We'll talk to you later.
Hire a coach.